not only are we infinitesimally small, but we are part of a very small part of what makes up the universe. Only 4% of the universe makes up anything that we can see or anything that we can measure. And so we are nothing. We are nothing. And we are just we are coincidences of evolution in the same view. On the other side is the notion that we are created in God's image, that we have infinite value. Since when does how big we are matter? The universe is so large that even if we were the size of a planet, if every one of you listening were the size of Jupiter, you would be insignificant. So, what is the point? It isn't the size that matters, as funny as that statement is, with its double entendres. It's so obviously so. Either we are of value or we're not of value, but our value can't be on what percentage of the universe do we make up. 1-8-Prager 776, 1-8-Prager 776. And we go to a Rabbi Steve in Vacaville, California. Hi, Rabbi Steve. Dennis Prager.
Hi, Dennis. I got to tell you, Ultimate Issues and Happiness Hours are my two favorite hours of the week.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to hear that.
I just have a challenge. It's really, I guess, not really a disagreement. Obviously, I'm a believer, but as a philosophy major at the UJ, and I have to say that logically, number one, it doesn't have to inevitably lead, and for many atheists would say it wouldn't. Because if you find a $10,000 bill, there is such a thing, it's not less valuable because it's random or it's chance. So, yours and my favorite Woody Allen movie, Crimes and Misdemeanors, he makes the same argument. Precisely because we're rare, one could say, even without God, therefore we're more valuable, and we have to do whatever we do to make our value more. So both on a logical basis as well as on a will basis, an atheist can argue it doesn't have to inevitably lead to our worthlessness.
Yeah, if you equate rare with significant.
But an atheist could do that. It can inevitably lead to value. Just
well,
like
no, it's a choice.
I
think, Steve, it's a choice that the atheist would then be making. And I want him to make that choice, but I don't think that it intellectually is inevitable.
No, I didn't say it's inevitable, but you're saying it's inevitable.
Oh, yes, I am.
It has to lead to meaningless. If one finds a $10,000 piece of gold, it could be just chance.
Yeah, but what if one finds? All right, but what?
Valuable.
No. But that's different, because that $10,000 piece of gold matters. You can do something with it. But what if you find a very rare piece, a unique piece of garbage? That's what we are in the universe. That's the point of this article. We are garbage. We're not $10,000 bills.
But that's the difference. You see, you're making a fallacy of equivocation, because the fact, as you said,
you mean
you
of equivalence.
Right. The fact is the fact, but the opinion is an opinion. A fact doesn't have to. It is a fact that we are meaningless to the universe. That if we and for that matter all matter died out, it would make no difference. That's a fact. No, that's an opinion.
No. That's not. No. You are confusing subjective with objective. It would have no impact on the universe if Earth exploded tomorrow. Absolutely not. It would impact your feelings. And it would impact a lot of atheist feelings. They love their children like theists do. I have no doubt about that. But objectively speaking, which is what scientists do, we have no impact. Our disappearance would have no impact. And that's what they're talking about. I'm honored that you listened and that you call Rabbi Steve. We continue on the Ultimate Issues Hour on the Dennis Prager Show. Dennis Prager here, the Ultimate Issues Hour. An effect of atheism, one consequence, and I'm not debating whether or not there is a God this hour, so don't even call in on that. That's not the issue. The issue is whether or not humans are more or less valuable if there is or isn't a God in whose image we're created, or who gives us a soul, or whatever belief you have about God and humans. And it is so obvious that we are more significant if you have what we call loosely a biblical view of the human being, and that is that we are created in God's image, and that we have therefore some deep sanctity. The whole concept, and I talked an hour about this, of holiness, which I define as elevating us from the animal-like to the God-like. If there is no God, there is nothing holy. But I specifically am talking about human worth. We are pollution, says a professor, and he's right. That's the point. We are pollution. If there is no God in this universe, we are specks of pollution. That is exactly what we are. In this New York Times magazine piece that I've been quoting to you, it's titled "Out There," and it is about how 96% of the universe is completely unknowable. We don't even know how to know it. We're just a bit of pollution. Lawrence Krauss, a theorist at Case Western Reserve, said not long ago at a public panel on cosmology in Chicago, "If you got rid of us, and of all the stars and all the galaxies and all the planets and all the aliens and everybody, then the universe would largely be the same. We're completely irrelevant." There you go. As opposed to the view that we have infinite worth because a God designed us. See? Powerful stuff. Vernon Hills, Illinois. Dennis Prager. Pete. Hello, Pete. Thanks for calling.
Dennis.
Hi.
Thanks for taking my call. It's truly an honor and a privilege to talk with you.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, first off, I'm not a great thinker of the world, so what I'm going to tell you is, or what to talk to you about is happenstance that I remember from reading Ayn Rand's books. But did she postulate in rational objectivism that our ego is self-derived value in and of itself, so that we can exist outside of God and have value and create intrinsic worth?
Yeah, but I understand every word you said, but it's all subjective. And even ego itself is just a psychological term. It's a construct to better understand us. But you can't find an ego if you dissect the brain.
But does that diminish its worth in and of itself? I guess is what I'm.
Does that diminish the worth of what?
Of one's deeds and one's actions, because isn't it our actions and our deeds that
they only matter insofar as you ascribe importance to them, but that's a completely subjective call. Objectively, it's quite irrelevant if you murder, torture, or build hospitals.
Right. I agree with you. I'm not. Obviously, altruism is the state of being that you want to be in, as far as morality goes.
It's the state of being that you and I hopefully want to be in, but it isn't the state of being that a lot of people, and by the way, even religion itself doesn't guarantee that you'll be in a state of being of altruism, as we see the murder in the name of a God today taking place, where people are slaughtered and religious incantations are made. So we have to be intellectually honest. Religion doesn't guarantee anything. I'm not even talking about that. That's another question we'll do another time. Does religion make people better? Alan, that's a good one for a UI hour, an Ultimate Issues hour. My only question today is, do you or do you not acknowledge that atheism leads to the utter and total insignificance of the human being? That's all I ask you. It doesn't mean you'll be bad. It doesn't mean you won't be able to enjoy great music or your grandchildren. That's not the point. Okay, let's go to James in Phoenix, Arizona. Hi, James. Dennis Prager, and thank you, Pete.
Hello, Dennis. How are you doing?
Okay.
Very quickly, when I first heard you throw that statistic out about the 94% that we do
96.
not understand and can never understand, the first thing I thought was, does that not at least open up the possibility then that there is, in fact, a spiritual world, and in fact...
Yeah, it is. I know. It's almost as if God is saying, hey, hello, dear scientists who are a little bit arrogant.
Exactly.
You now acknowledge that you don't even know how to discover 96% of the universe.
Precisely.
So why are you all so arrogant about that nothing non-material exists? Because you acknowledge right now that 96% of the universe is non-material.